You're watching City Channel 4, your window to our community.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Let's see, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Edwin Benjamin. I am a commercial lending underwriter with Midwest One Bank here in Iowa City. Today's event is sponsored by Veridian Credit Union. I will only say that once. but Veridian does a lot of great things in the community, so we're happy to have their support. I'm a member of the Summer of the Arts the committee that puts on Soul Festival, so we're really excited about this event today. We have a distinguished group of panelists here who are going to share some words of wisdom with you, and we'll take some questions later on. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Today we have our moderator, Ms. Dora Miller, who joined CBS 2 and Fox 28 in April of 2015. She's born in New York to a military family. She's lived in more than 8 states and is happy to add Iowa to the list. She graduated from Valdosta State University in July of 11 with a degree in journalism. While attending Valdosta, I'm saying it correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
Valdosta.
Valdosta.
She worked as a sports editor of the school's newspaper. Dora got her start in broadcast as a production assistant in Central Texas, and after about 6 months, she stepped in front of the camera as a crime and courts reporter for KTXS television. She plans to continue covering crime in the corridor and sharing stories of people who live in the Hawkeye State. In her free time, she enjoys venturing out to meet new friends, watching football, and taking time to unwind at the gym. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Dora Miller.
Thank you. I think I should move there we go. Am I good, Joel? Okay. So now today we're going to be talking to a bunch of panelists that I've got the opportunity to meet earlier today, just telling their amazing stories about what it's like to own small business here in Iowa City. So I'm going to start by introducing them, and forgive me, I'm reading just a sentence bio. Kwesi Seals is first. Co-founder of E's Gluten-Free Bakery. They actually have some treats back there. I've been told that they are up for grabs. So it's a locally owned, 100% certified, gluten-free, home-based bakery. I was told right now they're in the kitchen of a home, but hoping to expand later on. Next, Frankie Cooley. She's the owner of Alfies Beauty Supply. There she sells hair pieces for those looking for extensions and for those who need a full head of hair because of cancer. And for the past several years, she's also volunteered her time at a local funeral home doing makeup and eyelashes for Black families. Then Gerald Seals is next. No relation to Kwesi, by the way. He is the CEO and founder of Harold's Chicken in Iowa, and there's a really cool story behind this. Harold's Chicken started in Chicago in the 50s, and they're telling me now that they're going to be moving to Iowa here and expanding pretty quickly. So that's exciting news. And that'll be in Iowa City, Waterloo, and Cedar Rapids areas, so look out for that. Apparently the chicken is so good that it's flown out to celebrities, so that's pretty impressive. Next, Fred Newell, and he's the executive director of the Dream Center. Conceived in 2012, they offer a variety of programs for youth and adults that are designed to empower them with skills and attitudes they need to be successful, and as we know, that's very important for our youth, especially here in Iowa. So I will give each of you a chance to kind of let me know and let everyone else here know what you guys are about. I'd like to hear more, and I'm sure everybody else would too. So, Kwesi, we'll start with you.
Okay. My name is Kwesi Seals, just the A sound. And I'm the co-founder of E's Gluten-Free Bakery. What we are is, like Dora mentioned, home-based, gluten-free, certified bakery. My partner is actually my mother, who is the genius behind all of this. We bake, all of our products are gluten-free, and we bake them because it started because my mom likes to bake. and found out that my sister had a gluten sensitivity while she was in grad school. And she wasn't happy with the products she was finding on the market, and she was paying an arm and a leg for them. My mom said that, you know what, I'll bake you some gluten-free stuff. And she just started experimenting. And when I realized, I moved away for several years, and I moved back to Iowa City, and that's when I realized she had been sending me gluten-free stuff. And I had no idea that it was gluten-free until I came home and saw her making it. And that's when I realized that this is a product that we should get out to people, that they would enjoy this. So that's what we do, is anything that can be baked gluten-free, that's what we do.
Amazing.
Frankie?
Okay, so my name is Frankie Cooley. I did the business. Okay, so I'm a single mom of 7, divorced. When I initially started the business in 2006, I was working at the post office. Having a large family didn't give me the flexibility that I needed. I have 7 children, and they attend 6 different schools along with the business. So I needed that flexibility. So that's how I got started. Just took some of my post office checks and invested in myself. It's been 10 years now. Along with the 10 years came, I have been a foster parent to children that were just dropped off at my store. I've also just kind of got thrown into the funeral business. I had a really good customer of mine that died about 4 years ago, young girl. And her grandmother and mother came to me and asked me to try and reconstruct her face. I have no education in that area. I had never done it, but she was such a beautiful girl, always smiled. And she's in a car accident, dead on the scene. And I was just overwhelmed that they asked me to even touch her body. You know, this is the last time anybody will ever see her. So I took it really personal and said a prayer, and I went in, and it turned out really, really well, to where the funeral owner approached me and paid me. I was doing the services for free. And from there, it just kind of snowballed. Anybody that passed, they would reach out to me, or the funeral home would reach out to me. So I just initially thought that I would be selling hair, but God has his own way of doing things, and I just kind of follow his plan. With the foster parenting, I was at my store, and 2 babies were dropped off, 6 months, 1 year old. And I didn't know the mom, I didn't know the family, and I just took them home. And people was like, why wouldn't you call Children Family Services? I'm like, well, it's enough of us to take care of our children. And so I did that. And they were in my life for 2 years, and I'm glad to say that the mother is married. She has her own, and the kids are doing well. The business is plenty of days I wanted to close. I'm like, I can go back to the post office and get benefits and make pretty good money. But again, God keeps the doors open. So.
Hello. Oh, hi, I'm Gerald Seals. I am the CEO and founder of Harold's Chicken Iowa. It is a sister company to the first and only black chicken franchise throughout the world. And what started for me was a 7-year process. This is not something that came overnight that most people feel businesses, grow overnight. I met the CEO about 5-6 years ago in person. And what happened was the fact that it was life-changing for me as a person and as a business owner, and even just as a black young man at the time. She took me under her wing, and she mentored me for years. I know stories about her dad, about the segregation days of what made him start Harold's Chicken. It was back in 1950 when he tried to get a bank loan and was not able to secure a bank loan. So what he did is he created a company from nothing. And what he also did was he walked around the city of Chicago and gave stores to young men to help them make a living for their families back in those days, which ended up turning out to be a good thing because we 65 years later, and his daughter did the same thing for me. A kid that come from, the same neighborhood that he put his first store, which is 39th of Chicago. And to be 65 years later with a kid that's able to be part of a movement to take his company out of state is huge for me. And not only are we taking it out of state, we are also going to invest in young men to become future Harrow's business owners. So we actually looking to, bring on a lot of young men and teach them how to become men, teach them how to become, business owners the right way. So we are going to adopt a program where we're not looking for the government to help us. We're not looking for the community. We're going to invest in our own kids and our own kids' futures. Amen. So hopefully we can do that here in Iowa. That's pretty much all I have right now.
That's great.
My name is Frederic Nora, and I'm the executive director of the Dream Center, a nonprofit in town that focuses on strengthening family, changing lives, and restoring hope. So my business is a little bit different. It's not for-profit. It was created based off of, as a young man from Chicago, I moved to Iowa in 2006 as a freshman at the University of Iowa, and I had a lack of supports as a young father. I had my first child at 17. I feel like there was no resources available to a young man trying to become a man, and as well as a father trying to know what it means to be a father. So when I graduated from college, I did some research on what's available for boys to learn about manhood and what's available for fathers to be able to learn what it means to be a father, how to hold fathers accountable. And I didn't find any programs in the state of Iowa that focused primarily on black boys and fathers in general. So I piloted a program in 2013, and from there we have grown to be able to now have a fatherhood academy, a youth leadership academy, and a performing arts academy. And that's kind of our focus, is making sure that young boys, especially black boys, have a place to call home, have a place to feel as if they belong, as well as to make sure fathers know that there is an organization that believes in them, that have faith in them, and that's going to hold them accountable to be the man that I know God has called us to be.
Thank you, guys. So many cool stories and great backgrounds, but I do want to start with the beginning, what it was like when you initially started your business. I'm sure everybody knows it's not an easy task, and there's a lot of struggles. So I kind of want to talk about that. So take us back to when you first started, if anyone wants to kind of kick that off. What were some of the challenges you faced?
Well, for me, it was extremely hard. I have no education in business, none. I had no education in business. And getting a contract for wholesale hair was almost impossible. I think it's easier to get drugs and guns than to get hair, really. And not because of money, but because of I'm African American. That's just not accessible to us. So, in banks as well, don't want to take a chance. So I basically just used my own money. I had checks, like I said, from the post office that I hadn't cashed. I had less than $3,000. And I took that and I just ran with it. My first day I opened, March 1st, 2006. I had no money in a register. My mom had to go to the bank and give me some money. If somebody came in, I wouldn't even been able to give them change. Yeah, so my mom went to the bank and gave me money to put in a register. And it just went from there. But it's most definitely, even now, I have days where, that's why I know it's really not my business, it's God's business. That store is nothing about me. Absolutely nothing about me. I have days where I'm not even, I get maybe 30 customers and nobody comes in and buy anything. But they'll come in for prayer. They'll come in to show me their new baby, their new addition to the family, come to show me a new vehicle. Oh, Alfie, look what I got. Could you pray over the car? Absolutely. Or I'm leaving, I'm going back to college. Could you pray for me? Could you keep in touch? So that's what that business has been.
Gerald.
Oh, okay. Sure. For me, my challenge was a lot different than most people, because from the beginning, I knew I was trying to attempt something that has never been done, which is go to a CEO of a all-black chicken franchise that is known to never out-of-state franchise. So for me, my hardest part was convincing myself it can be done. And it seemed like everything that can go wrong actually went wrong. You know, I had the money to invest into the franchise, but then my sister passed. So I had to invest into, obviously, with my sister's funeral. And for me, overall, it was my passion. Because when I went to her, it wasn't about if I can do something, it's when I can do it. It no longer became to me as a dream. It was, this is my reality. So when she saw that, she knew telling me no is not even an option for her. It was just telling me when I can do it. And the fact that I went with so much knowledge of the franchise and so much passion, she was willing to listen to me for hours and hours in, to where we found ourselves months in and haven't even talked business. We talked about life and, you know, her father's legacy, and even the legacy that she's trying to leave for her children that led to the legacy that I'm leaving for my children. So before we know it, we was 2 years in and never even talked about a contract, to a point where I knew I can do it, because at the end of the day, she always told me she believed that her dad would have done the same thing for me that he'd done for so many young men in the 50s and the 60s. And she was not going to let me walk out of her office or not even out of her life without blessing me the same way. And for me, that drove me into where I'm at now, to a point where we don't really look at what can be done. We look at when we're going to do it. So just stay focused on your dream and just keep going.
Right. Kwesi, I will give you this mic so you don't have to move it. But what were some of the challenges you had?
Well, like Alfie mentioned, I'm sorry, not Alfie, Frankie.
Yeah, it's Alfie.
Frankie. Some of the challenges we had were, we don't have business experience or business degrees either. And just knowing where to look for the resources. There's a lot that goes into a business when you're starting out small like this and there's just two of you. You really don't have one position. You're wearing all hats at different times. Like, you need to do the inventory, you need to do the bookkeeping, you need to do the baking, you need to do the packaging, you need to do delivering, you need to do the marketing. Finding out where do we go to find these resources to get some help out here, or do we have to do this all by ourselves? That was one of the big challenges that we faced initially in the beginning. Another thing that that was specific for the relationship with these business partners is that's my mom. And whenever you work with family, if you've ever worked with family, let's just say there's a lot of learning opportunities to grow, and we're still going through that, but it's not as rough as it was in the beginning, because we also had two different visions on how fast we should grow. And I think that challenge is something that's probably going to come the whole time you're in business, but particularly in the beginning, those are some of the challenges that we faced.
Okay. Fred, tell me a little bit about some of the challenges you had. I know that you're in a little bit of a different situation, so.
So my challenge was similar to Gerald. It was myself was the most challenging part of my initial challenges. And the reason was because I was only 23 at the time. There's a lot of established nonprofits that was already in town that was doing kind of similar work, but not in a way that I felt that it was reaching the heart of young men of color. Another initial challenge was I was a father of 4 already at that time. So balancing between trying to create a nonprofit to help it sustain itself versus still learning what is a young man, what is a father, what are my responsibilities. That was challenging for me. Plus, the initial challenge was we didn't have funding, but someone blessed us with the opportunity to pay the rent for a full year, so that was no longer an excuse of why I couldn't do the work. Someone paid the cable bill, internet, light. So those challenges were taken away So my biggest challenge became myself and believing that as a young man that I can do it, that I can be the role model that these young men and fathers were looking for. And our greatest challenge, even to this day, is we have more children and families than we do have people to provide the service which is needed. So that is still a challenge we face today.
So it seems like resources came from, like, there were blessings to a lot of you guys here, which is amazing. Yeah. So that's a story in itself. But I want to know, what kind of assumptions did you guys make about your business when you first got started, or your customer base, that wasn't true, that you found out is not true? I know that's kind of like a little different question, but.
For me, it was more so making the customers understand Harold's is more than just chicken. Because when I got to learn the CEO and meet her family and be a part of her family on several occasions, it came to me that it was more about family structure and giving back to the community, and just Harold's was a platform that was used. So I found myself fighting that business versus true passion and true, a celebration of a black man that has done something that's still to this day never been done. I mean, his family still work in stores in Chicago. His daughter is the CEO, but she do all the grand openings. Her sons work in stores as cooks. Her daughter is cashiers, and they launching new products through the family. So when so many people, talk about celebration of black culture, I feel his name should be definitely mentioned, because he did something to this day has not been done, period. Still around 65 years later. They did no advertisement. They don't buy billboards. It's word of mouth 65 years later in a segregated state of Illinois. So to me, I think that was really one of the biggest things for me, was the fact of that was it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Frankie?
Oh, okay. Just kind of say it again.
So what were your initial thoughts about your business and your customers that maybe didn't pan out like you thought?
Okay. So I lived in the Quad Cities before, so I know a little bit about Iowa, and just like the bigger cities, Chicago and Detroit and St. Louis. So I knew immediately, like, I couldn't run my business the way that the cities ran theirs. The need is just different here. It's more of a casual, laid back, conservative, And so I knew I wanted to get products that were hard for us to get, that you had to drive all the way to Chicago to get, or you had to order online. So I didn't stock my store with those items. I had a suggestion box when I first opened, and was like, what is something, if I had maybe 5 customers ask for the same product, I got it in. So that's the route I kind of went down. And I guess I thought that I would be extremely busy, which I was wrong, especially knowing that our product wasn't here, and there wasn't a beauty supply store here except for Sally's. So I made the assumption this is really needed, but it didn't start out like that. It started out extremely slow, so I changed my hours. I was in there initially from 9 to 8, and I found maybe about 6 o'clock, the last 2 hours, wouldn't nobody come in. So, it's different here. At 10 o'clock, if you're out walking around, you look suspicious. So I was like, okay, I need to readjust my hours. So, that's what I did. And I didn't have a blueprint to go off on. I had no mentors. I had no banks. I had nothing. I just kind of had my intuition, my gut, and, whatever discernment God gave me. And I used that.
What about you, Kwesi? Seeing as how you are working at home, essentially, what kind of assumptions did you have? And I know you kind of talked about your mom and your opinion, both of them a little different, but working together. What were some of the opinions or the assumptions that you had that weren't true?
Well, some of the assumptions that I found out real quickly weren't true is I have worked in quite a few restaurants and bars, and when I moved back to Iowa City. This was 3 years ago in 2013. I was just coming from a very large steakhouse that I was managing, and I assumed that, okay, if we're going to go in the business, then I liked the way that their structure was. We can just structure it the same way. Not realizing that, no, I'm actually not only going to be the dishwasher, the busser, the server, the host. We only have 2 people, so a small business it's not possible to structure it like a larger company. Another thing that we'd assumed, I think, too early, and part of this is the excitement and passion that you have to have for a new business. When we first approached Hy-Vee to see if they would carry our products in their stores, we expanded from probably no Hy-Vee stores to about 10 within 10 weeks, because everyone we took them to, they wanted to put it on the shelf. I think we both kind of assumed that, well, if we get the product out there, the people will come. Field of Dreams is what I grew up on. It doesn't work that way. There are some other steps that go into that. So we quickly realized that, it was great that we had a product that we could get into the store so quickly, but you can't scale up too fast. Yeah. You really have to, you're going to be creating more problems for yourself. So I'm really thankful that I am blessed to have a partner, my mother, she's more of the steady, slow one. That wins the race. I'm kind of the, let's go.
The rabbit.
The rabbit, yes, let's go. It's a nice balance, though, that we've found. And we're still finding out assumptions, and I'm sure we'll continue to do that. But you just adjust along the way. Just be willing to make adjustments and pivot when you need to.
Right.
Brad.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So the assumptions I made was that I was going to be working closer with families to help them to build on their family. But what I found to be false was that I was going to become the only family to that child who were in the moment, which kind of led me down a different path of a vision. I was not creating the Dream Center to do the social service work. I wanted to create the Dream Center to bridge the gap at organizations that were already established that was not reaching our kids. With that being said, people got offended very quickly as if I was very young. So what do I know? How can I tell them their practices are not working? So I had to motivate myself to show that, okay, I can take, and the way we got started was there were 8 kids who were kind of banned for a year out of a center that I was associated with, and they were only in 5th and 6th grade at that time. And I said, wow, we can ban kids at 5th and 6th grade out of a program that is meant for them. At 5th and 6th grade, that means I'm already telling them I done threw the towel in on you. So with that, I made the assumption that our community was different, that our community believed that all youth could be successful. But I learned that this community is very different, to the point that all of my assumptions were that we were going to do this together as a community, that I wasn't trying to compete with anybody. And that's what it became. It felt like that I was competing, not even competing, because I had the kids they didn't want. So I don't know what we're competing for. But I felt that pressure from the community that I was just another nonprofit. We were all going to compete for the same money. There was not enough money. So I even had got to a place that I didn't ask for money. And my other assumption was that I'll get money from businesses and things of that nature. But it has been individuals who have helped to sustain the Dream Center. People that I never thought would give to that cause. Those are the ones who continue to support us to this day.
So passion has been the driving force, it feels like, for especially starting up businesses, no matter how long they've been going, if they just got started or if they've been going for 10 years. Passion has been the driving force when you don't know what else to do. But I think you mentioned something very interesting, Fred, the community. So I think at this time, I think it would be really great to hear from you guys. If you guys have any questions or anything that you'd like to know when it comes to starting up your own business, or some of the the stories here, which are just amazing. I think it's a good time if you guys have anything you want to ask or, yeah. Now, we have a microphone.
I love. There we go.
There you go.
So I heard Fred and Kwesi, they kind of touched on family a little bit. My question is a two-part question. How do you all incorporate your family into your businesses? And also, how do you balance that home life? Since you're entrepreneurs, you don't have necessarily a 9 to 5. How do you balance that home life with work to make that work?
So the thing I did is I started to create programs for my children. So I was focusing more on 5th through high school, but I have younger kids, which means that they don't fall into that category. So our dance program started with ages 4 because my daughters were 4. So that gave them opportunity to do dance. My son is 10. So at that time we created Taekwondo and different type of programs that I can still focus on the work I needed to do at the Dream Center, but I also knew that my kids didn't have to feel like I was pulled apart from home. I created a space for them as well, that they felt they belong and that they can feel to this day. I mean, that's today, this morning, my kids asked me, are we going to the Dream Center today? Because I've created it as a space that they can still be them, they still can grow, and they don't have to feel like their father is not in the same space as them.
For me, I have no balance. No, just for me, I believe it's more so making sure that our children and family understand the struggle of the journey. Because when someone understands something, they no longer feel like you are neglecting them to get to a point. And for my children, they are actually here now. So I wanted them to be part of anything that I do, not so they can use it as a bragging right, so they can use this as motivation in their own lives. Because the journey is always hard. And sometimes kids get getting caught up into my dad or my mom is not here for whatever the reasons are. I want them to understand, life is always difficult, but sometimes your journey is to help others, and sometimes your calling is bigger than yourself. So I want them to be able to see it, because I believe kids understand things that they are shown versus something that they are being told. So to me, I just try to incorporate them, just like Fred said, in everything that I do, whether that's from business to something else. Because even next year, I'm planning to launch my son a shoe line because I'm tired of paying for shoes. So he may not like it, but hey, it's okay. But it's just try to just always include your family in everything that you're doing so they understand that journey.
Do you want to go next, Frankie?
Sure. Okay. So with me and my crew, I kind of consider I'm the oldest. My brother, I'm 17 years older than him, and then I also have a younger sister. So my brother is 25, my son is 23. My next son is 19, and my sister is 19. So with me and my business, when I first started, nobody was old enough to do anything except maybe take the trash out and maybe organize. So that's what they did. Now my brother, when he's in town, he's in Australia now, but when he's in town, he helps out at the store. My son is 23. He'll open the store for me. But if he opens the store, I'm probably out shopping. I'm out doing inventory. And I tend to take maybe 3 kids with me to shop. So they go to the wholesale store with me and they see. And because I'm a single parent, on Mondays, my store is closed. So I usually take one of the kids out of school. I'll send them to school so that the other ones won't know. And then I'll pick one to go get out of school, and then they'll travel with me to shop. Now, the next day, I'll take one from school, and they'll help me put the merchandise up. They'll put inventory in the register. They'll do things like that. What I did was I used to open from 11 to 6 on Saturdays, and I found that I wasn't spending any time with them on the weekend. They're at school all week. I'm at work all week. Saturday I work. Sunday I'm at church. And then Monday it starts all over again. So I changed my Saturday hours from 10 to 3 so that I can still have time to do something with them on Saturday. So you have to kind of work and see what fits your family. And when you have so many kids, everybody wants personal time. Everybody needs something different from you when you're dealing with that many ages and personalities. So my kids, they do spend a lot of time at the store, but they all do different things. So you just have, it depends on what you're doing. You have to kind of make it work. Like my son will come and sweep and mop and take boxes out. And so they know that this business was really created for them so that they can enjoy the privileges that they have. I have 3 in private school, you know, and it's hard. It's not easy at all. It's hard. And I don't think it gets easier. It becomes your normal.
And I think that's a good point that Frankie makes, that you just have to find what works for you. In our case, my sister, who really this all started for, she lives out of state down in Texas right now. I have some other siblings that live in other states that are far away from here. One way that we incorporate them into it is if we come up with a new product or we're thinking about what should go on the website, we'll contact them or we'll send it to them and let them try it. And if my family's anything like other families, there's no one like your brothers and sisters that will tell you if an idea sucks. Mm-hmm. And they won't beat around the bush. So that's, we started this also because my mom did want to leave something for her children and grandchildren. And there's many a Saturday morning that I go over to the house and my nieces, who are 15 and 5, are in the kitchen with my mom helping her bake. And I think she's grooming the next generation of CEOs, and they have a lot of fun doing it. It can be fun. That's time spent with grandma, and it's not just work for them. So that's something I think in each situation, you just find a way how you can incorporate the family and spend time with them, not neglect.
Absolutely. Thank you for your question, Jabril. Anyone else have any questions? Anything you can think about? Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I need to say thank you to all the panelists. The only organization that I'm familiar with of the panelists is the Dream Center. I'm aware of that. And so I didn't know, and I've been here since '91, and I didn't know about these things that are happening, but I'm excited that they are, and I will be making sure word of mouth will happen. Very impressed by what I've heard this morning. I do want to say that I've heard a couple of times mentioning that young men, young boys are kind of a focus for some of the organizations in particular, for grooming for CEO position, future, and I want to know where the ladies are. You know, what the thoughts are for the ladies and what you do. I'm sure that that's part of it, but I just want to let you know that, you know, there are some young ladies that I think also would probably be interested in some of the things that you're doing. You know, just as there might be some young men that are interested in working with hair and product and that too. So I just want to encourage you and say God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So there are numerous organizations in the Iowa City area that focus on young women, especially G-World. They are in all the secondary and high schools. So they have a high focus on connecting those young women with different careers. They do academic supports. They do college tours. So that is for young women. I know at the University of Iowa, a lot of the sororities do tons of work with young women. So people always ask, you always talk about young men and you talk about fathers. So what do you do for young women and what do you do for mothers? And that's a great question because I believe that 92% of our kids are the single mother home. So what we do for them is to be the best support we possibly can be for them. So we try to connect them with other mothers. We try to reach out to their fathers to connect them. With the young ladies, we have a program called I Belong, which is focusing on helping youth to feel like they belong here. So that includes both male and female. But there are tons of organizations, I believe, in Iowa City that focus on developing young women to be successful.
couple questions.
First, a comment, and that comment is thank you, each of you, for sharing what you've shared today. And as I'm listening to you, I'm hearing that you've actually thought about the social part, and it's not an afterthought, that you're actually doing what you do because you really want to make an impact. And I appreciate that so much. I lived in Iowa City from 91 until 2004, and we moved to Waterloo. So I want to talk with you.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. But Fred, I really like what you're doing, and it's different from any of the others. I'll get to my question in a short while. But I really like what you're doing because I, too, like you, Frankie, when I was in Iowa City for a short period, I was still married, but we did the commuter marriage thing, and I had boys. And I got connected with Big Brother, Big Sister, but it was different. And so I really commend what you're doing because we do need those role models. We do need you. This is not my community, but it still is. So my question, though, is the resources. You mentioned that it was difficult for you, some of you, to really kind of pinpoint what was out there that could help you to launch or to grow your business. And so what did you find, and what can you share with us?
Okay, I'll answer that. Just to piggyback on her question, as far as the young women, I, over the years, had a couple of girls shadow me while they were in high school. I don't think nobody ever knew it, but yeah, I did. I had maybe in the 10 years I've been open, probably about 15 girls, come in and shadow me for a week, 2 weeks, however long they needed. So I have done that. To answer your question, I couldn't even get in order to get a merchant account is what you do for the credit cards. You have to have a business account. I couldn't even get a business account when I first opened. Like, I went to the bank and they would not give me a business account. Okay, so if you're not gonna give me a business account with my money, I know you're not gonna give me a loan. So maybe about 4 years in, I finally got a loan of $5,000. And I already had the business account. I eventually got a business account. But I got that loan through this professor, Paul Heath. He popped in my store, and he, I guess, word of mouth, he heard some good things about me. And I didn't even have to go through the loan application process. He got on the phone and called them while I was sitting in his office and said, "You guys need to give this girl the money." That's how he said it. He was like, "Give her," he say, you could get a minimum of $10,000. He say, "No, give her $5,000. And that's, in the 10 years, that's what I've gotten. So the resources are there, and they say they for small business, minorities. I haven't had any luck, and I've done everything by the books. I would go to the bank, and they'll say, "Well, we need to see 2 years of being in business." Give them 2 years. Okay, well, we need to see 5 years. Was in business 5 years. I'll go back. Okay, we need to see X, Y, Z. And so I will always meet what they say, but I just hear no, no, no. So even now, it's just my own funds. It's generating, it's keeping the business going.
Can I piggyback to what she said?
Oh, for sure.
I think for most of us, the reason that we started this is to help each other. So when you say resources, for me, it was more so like men like him. He's been a friend of mine for maybe 10 years now. And my son came home with a letter from him. I mean, like, he helped kids that, just come from, so-called solid homes. So when I initially thought of the Heroes Project, and he don't know this is actually the first time he even hearing this, I brought it here to help him. Because we could have went to Vegas, we could have went to New York, we could have went to all these bigger places that want us there, but I brought it to Iowa just to be able to donate money to him, to be able, because I'm tired of our community not giving him the money that he needs. You know, that's hurting because my son enjoy him. I mean, this is my child, both of them are here. I mean, and they look up to him. And that hurts me, the fact that every year he's fighting these big corporations who getting all the funding every single year. Nobody open their mouth about it. It's sad that we have kids that are getting kicked out of the rec center because they have nowhere to go. But we have a guy that's trying to do the right thing and nobody want to stand up and fund him. So I'm sick of us as a community waiting for somebody else to give us the funding. We need to get together and fund him. Fund people like her. You know, so when people say how to start a business, invest in an existing business. But you don't have to start your own. Let's put the egos aside and let's come together as a community. So my goal is to reach out to, you know, take the money that is being made through the Herald's platform and help small businesses like her. I'm going to talk with him afterwards to see how can we put his cookies throughout the Heralds. So it's all about helping each other and bridge that gap by helping each other, not leave the gap open and wait for him to do all the work by himself. He have a family of his own. So do I, so do her. So let's get together and form a community where we helping each other. If her issue is the financial side of it, we should have somebody within the organization that can help that. If her issue is co-signing, we should have somebody in the, you know, up in our environment to help co-sign. Let's invest in each other, and that's it. And let's create the world that we wish existed here in Iowa. Bottom line.
That's great.
Oh, did you have another question? Yes. Okay. I don't know where the mic is.
Okay. I'm getting chills up here. I'm getting really excited now about this. A couple of things. I really like what she said about, yes, there's a very strong social focus here. In fact, when we first started out, before it was officially Ease Gluten-Free, my mom was doing farmers markets. And I remember many times that I would see her, if somebody didn't have the money and she didn't take credit cards, oh, just take it, just take it. That actually was one of our difficulties in the beginning because coming with the business standpoint, we still have to meet the bottom line. But her heart is so big, which this is what I really appreciate, is the feeling is people who have celiacs or any type of gluten sensitivity, they shouldn't have to pay twice as much money. They shouldn't not be able to eat that food because they can't afford it, so they're just going to have to suffer with that. Our goal is to keep it priced reasonably, and that is going to be a challenge, I foresee, because of the dollars and cents in the bottom line. But so our focus is definitely there, and this is one thing I really appreciate about this whole panel is that, like you said, you've been in this area. I grew up in Iowa City. I've never met either one of them here, and I think that's a big thing that's lacking is as far as going to find resources, where are the networking events for people of color, for people looking to start businesses? All right, like Gerald mentioned, we're going to talk about how we can collaborate. When I heard about the Dream Center, I already said to, Fred down here, see, I'm getting really excited about this. I already said, I want to talk with you because I want to volunteer my time. I have a lot of theater music background. I want to be able to volunteer to help out any way I can. So just as important as getting money and getting that to get started, it's networking, getting to know the people. So maybe I have something I can tell them, hey, I met this person. I'm actually a part of this because it was an accident that I met, just a random chance meeting. I met Andre Wright, who is the owner of Blue Collar Fashion, and through him I met Simeon, and then I met a whole bunch of people that were connected with other people, and the rest is history, as they say. The ball got rolling. So if there were more events like this where we could network, meet other people who are moving towards the same goal, and we can help each other get there.
That's great.
Now, what were you going to say?
Should I be moving back to Iowa City?
Sure, come back.
Oh, there's one.
I was going to say, there's someone in Chicago, Maggie Anderson. Are you familiar with her?
No, not at all.
I think all of you, all of us, should really take a look at what she's done. She started an experiment, if you will, called the Empowerment Project.
Can you use the mic?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Maggie Anderson started a project called the Empowerment Project. It was an experiment. And what she sought to do was to go around Chicago and find those black-owned businesses. And it was far and far between. And her family made a commitment for 12 months that they would not, no matter how far they had to drive, no matter how long they would have to wait, they would only support black businesses or black-owned business for 12 months.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so you're familiar.
Yeah.
I think we should all be kind of aware of that. And the basic tenet there is that when we support each other, that the money that we have in the community stays within that community. You know, it's going to go out, but it goes so quickly now because there are not enough of us and because we don't support one another. So it was more of a comment than it was a question and a suggestion that it might be something that, you know, for your reading pleasure, to just take a look at that.
Right.
My goal is to not only just focus on the black communities investing in each other, because I don't want to make it about a color, but I think it's sad the fact that we have all these new businesses popping up that don't invest in the community that they taking the money from. Whether it's Popeyes, whether it's Harold's, it doesn't matter. We should set the bar to make it where these businesses invest in the community that they are taking money from. And whether that take us to start a movement, we would do that. But my goal is to have it where all businesses invest in, you know, the small men, you know, the small women that's trying to build a community for the community. I mean, and that's what he stands for, that's what she stands for, and even him. So we really want to try to put something there that's making everybody else follow suit. And if not, then we'll come to the table and we'll address it in a different way. But I don't want his hold up to be financial, especially now when so many of us able to help him. Because, you know, a lot of us together equal a lot. It doesn't take a lot of money to support him, because it's not always about money. Sometimes it's your time and just your energy, just your, you know, just trying to help out just the best way possible. Even if you're cooking, even if you just dare to support his dream, that's what we're about.
Thank you so much for your questions and comments. Appreciate it. I think there was a question over here. Is there still, okay, and then one over here. Okay.
Just one quick question. What would you say is the biggest obstacle that you face for purposes of expanding your business, and what are you thinking about right now in terms of a possible solution to that?
Let's start with Fred. Here you go.
I would say lack of financial resources. When you have at least 50 kids to try to feed every night, that's a problem. When you have kids who don't want to go home for whatever that reason is, so we have to push you out the door. When you are a volunteer-driven organization and you work off volunteers, the turnover is so high that impacts the child. So it would be lack of resources. The thing that I have not done, I haven't asked the city for money. I haven't asked many people for money, because what I wanted to do was create something that I knew worked before I asked anybody for anything. Because I know I'm young, people would try to tear me apart to say I'm in it for all the wrong reasons, but nobody can say that because I've never asked nobody for anything. And that's because I've been trying to figure out what was my plan, what is the goal of how I can reach these things. And now that I know what I'm doing, and then I have people like Gerald saying, I believe in this work too, I'll go ask the people for resources, and if they don't give it, I'll keep doing what I've been doing.
Anyone else? Frankie?
Yeah,
go for it.
You're looking.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll answer that. I've been asked to expand to Burlington, Iowa. I've been asked to expand to Waterloo and even Texas. Yeah. So the reason I haven't expanded is because it's hard to get somebody to run my existing business. And what I've learned is when you first open a business, you need to be at that new one. But then, now the backside to that is your customers want you at the old one. So the days that my son is at the store, I might as well be at work. Like, I get so many, they don't want to talk to me. They want to FaceTime me. So they want to see me. So they're standing in my store on my iPad, FaceTiming me. I need that wig with the bang, with the curls on it. And I'm like, okay, Dwayne, she wants this one, and it's over there. So that's my issue. I don't think my customers so much love my product. I think it's my customer service, and that I cater to them, and that some wigs I alter, and some things I get in just for certain customers. So trying to find somebody that can give them that same customer service is a struggle for me. It's not about a sale to me, because I get customers that come in and I don't have what they want, but I'll call Sally's. Or I'll go on my phone and I'll Google it real fast. And I say, oh, you can get it online here, here, here. So to me, I still provided a service. I may not got the money, but I still gave them a service. And what I know is, like, some people, if you hire someone, they're just going, whatever the person asks for, that's what they're gonna give them. They're not gonna go the extra yard and give suggestions. Like, well, I don't have this, but what you think about this? So that's my struggle. And of course, the finances. It's like, if I can't afford the rent at this location, how am I gonna go out and afford rent at another one and start over? So, yeah.
And can I add one other thing? I mean, I've been asked to expand to Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, Chicago. I mean, I just was flown to Danville, Virginia to expand. I don't want to expand until I can reach the heart of the people in my own community. Until I know that these boys and young men and young women are getting what they need, I don't need to go to Cedar Rapids. I don't need to go back home. I don't need to leave them stranded. If this is Iowa City, this is a place of tons of resources. I'll even give a shout out to Andre Perry. I mean, he give our kids opportunities to see something different. I don't need to go nowhere else until I know I have connected with enough people here that the families I serve right now are getting what they need. So I won't say a lack of funding. Let's not say that. Until I know the families I serve here is good, then I don't want to expand.
And I will piggyback on even what Fred said. That's pretty much our goal as well. We're going to implement what's called an ownership program, where we're going to take young men and teenagers and even young early 20 guys, and we're going to teach them how to become business owners. And our goal is to relocate them throughout other states, that they can actually carry this Harold's Chicken legacy on to other states and do the same thing in the communities out of state. So that is, right now, that is the plan that we're implementing for growth as well.
And Kwesi?
And real quickly, one obstacle particular to our business is trying to scale up from going from one oven to serving 3 or 4 Hy-Vees to serving 400 plus. That's a challenge, trying to find production facilities. And with that, it's all part of the distribution network. You have to find a place that can actually produce that can produce it correctly, because we're also dealing with gluten-free. So we have to have a certain facility that can do it. And then we have to find a company that can deliver to all those places. That's not something that you can just do a quick Google search and the answer comes up. I don't have an iPhone. Maybe Siri would have a better answer for me. But again, it falls back into the networking, because the resources are out there. And it's just knowing where to go to find the answer for that.
Thank you for your question as well. There's one question over here.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My thing, I'm a business owner as well. My thing is the resources. You know, I have been knocking on so many doors. Even Paul Heath came to my store and couldn't find me the resources. If it wasn't for my sister, who's a doctor, who's a 25% partner in my business, I wouldn't have one. We're the only company in the world that do direct printing on blinds, window blinds. I have a patent pending on the process. People that came in the store fronting like they're trying to help me, but trying to steal my idea. You know, I have reached out to so many people, but everybody that comes in the store wants money. How could I give you money and I don't have it? So my thing is, where do I find the resources to in a city that say they have it for me? Because I've applied for the $5,000 grant or whatever it is, and I still haven't got a reason why they turned me down. So what do I do about that?
Can I answer?
Yeah, go for it.
This is kind of what I mentioned by it take us to invest in men like him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy that, you know, he's been held back from a dream because of the financials, the financial side of it. And it's unfortunate because this is a very thriving area. And it seemed like we have been forgotten about, or we only relevant in situations like this. And that's crazy. I mean, like, I don't even know what to say because I never even heard of him. I just asked Fred who he was. I mean, it's crazy because this is a small community and we don't even know about each other. Me and him share the same last name. Never heard of him until this event. And it's crazy. But we're going to all try to link together, and we'll talk after this as well. I mean, I may not can help you, but we can introduce you to some other people that may need your services. And that's what this is about. It's introducing each other to other people that can use the services.
Yes.
Anyone else have any questions? Yes. Yes, sir. Last question. Okay.
I am Raphael Robertson, CEO of Robertson Marketing and Branding, and my question is for the entire panel. Going from employee or student to CEO or business owner can be a pretty daunting task. So what did you guys do to prepare for the current roles that you have? And from that, what would you tell the next generation to make the process a little bit easier for them? First part of the So the first part of the question is, what did you do to prepare for the current position you're in now? Because it's a totally different mind frame from going from student or employee to business owner or CEO. So what helped you on that journey, and what would you do for the next generation to help prepare them for the same role?
So what I would say, through my nonprofit, I was able to connect with the board of directors that had background knowledge of a nonprofit. So they kind of took me under their wing to help me to see what I needed to know. I did a lot of research on my own as a social work student. They kind of prepared me for starting my own thing. My mentor was my professor, Professor Sarah Sanders. She kind of held my hand throughout the entire process. So what I would even do for other young people is I'll tell them to learn to shadow people, because that was my thing. I had another mentor who I was able to shadow, who showed me how to do books, who showed me how to write grants, who showed me the importance of networking. So that's what I would do. I would connect young people with people like yourself and all of us. That would be a way to start with connections.
What was the question again, bro? Sorry. Research is everything. We are in a day and age now where everything can be found online. I mean, it's just what it is. I think so many people go into situations with an ego. You know, just put the ego, check your ego and just reach out to the people that can help you. Master your strengths, but delegate your weakness. And, you learn from people that have a track record of doing it. Don't go into a situation knowing that this is your weakness, but you so ego-driven, you're going to crash your company just because you're trying to prove that you can do something. There's nothing wrong with having help. Nobody got to a place just by themselves. So if I can tell a generation that will come after me, is be prepared to be lonely, because, that is a lonely road. I mean, all of us will be able to say that. Sitting at home, you battling more yourself than anything. You battling yourself, you battling the people saying you can't do it. You battling the people that's making up stories about you. Just all sorts of battles that we have to deal with inside. So just believe in yourself. And this is something I talk about all the time. For me, what helped me, I no longer refer to my movement as a dream. It was my reality. So when I convince myself that nobody can tell me anything different. So I just hope the youth can use that mind frame and go forward and understand when you have something in you, do it. Simple as that. Nothing's going to happen overnight. Nothing is easy in life. I don't matter if you're black or white. Don't focus so much on the color. Just do it. Period. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. So for me, you said, what did I do to prepare? So I didn't start the business the traditional way that you probably should start a business. I had no business plan. I had no storefront. I had no license. I had nothing. I had a garage and truck full of hair, and I had no location. The location came second. And when the guy gave me the location, he said, I'll tell you what, you can move in now. You can move your stuff in now. You can paint, do whatever you want. I won't charge you rent until you open the doors. So with breaks like that, that helped me, because otherwise I was not prepared. But I was passion driven. I was passion driven and a lot of prayer. A lot of prayer. What I would tell the next generation is education. Get your education. Education is so important. It's different now. This is not a time where a time of first and second chances. This is not a time where you can work at a factory and retire. So exactly. So now you need to be educated. I think if I was educated as far as maybe had a business degree or accounting degree, that would have even helped me. So with passion, prayer, and education, and like he said, researching whatever it is you're gonna do, it'll help. It'll help a lot.
For me, I think I was blessed because I was fired from a lot of jobs. And that kind of drove me towards wanting to be an entrepreneur and sign my own checks. But one thing that I did do, and I'm blessed that my parents did instill this in me from a young age, is every job that I have had, whether I've hated it or not, I've always looked at it from an owner's viewpoint. I've never looked at it as just an employee. So what I would suggest and advice I would give to the next generation is any job you have, don't just look at it as going to get a paycheck. If there's something that's on the floor and I'm not the janitor, it's not my job to pick it up. Well, this is my business. I work here. It is my job to pick it up. And one job I had when I was younger in my teens, I'll never forget something. I did use that line that, well, that's not my job, to an older coworker. And his response to me was, well, you can go home. And I said, why? And he said, well, I don't need a one-trick pony. That stuck with me. Every job since then, I've never used that phrase, that's not my job. If I work here, this is my job. I feel some ownership, even if I am just getting a paycheck. And the other thing I'll mention is Gerald talked about the battles. This is a battle. Battles with yourself, battles with others doubting you, battles with all kinds of stuff. I keep this in mind, though, and I heard this a while back, that when you go into war or in the battle, you only send the strongest. So keep that in mind. Yeah, you're strong. That's why you chose to take on this battle of entrepreneurship.
Thank you so much for your question. I do want to end. I know we're going to just get to chatting a little bit after this is over, but just in case people can't stick around, but they want to learn more about your business, how can they learn more, whether that be Facebook, if you have business cards, how can people learn more about your businesses? Kwesi.
We do have a website. It's www.easeglutenfree.com. Also, we do have a table set up back there with some samples. Feel free to stop and try some. And we are on Facebook, Instagram. I don't even know all the social media platforms out there, but I'm sure my little niece could tell me.
I have business cards. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not a social media person.
I know because I sent you a message.
I know. Don't say that out loud.
This message cannot be sent. What? For me,
I need help. Honestly, I need somebody to kind of, Lisa. Let's go, Lisa. Lisa can help me.
For me, just
help me out with that.
for me at the moment, just follow the Harold's Chicken Iowa Facebook page.
Okay.
I have to stick to that because I'm having so many people contact me, so I really have to stay focused because we are attempting something that has never been done, and that's open up 2 franchise stores in the same week. So I really need to be laser focused right now. So keep the questions to a minimum, I guess.
So we have a web page as well as on Facebook, Twitter. A lot of our stuff is on Facebook though. So I got business cards as well. So if you Google the Dream Center, Iowa, we should pop up.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out, listening to their stories, and if you want to stick around, we'll be here to talk. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for coming out.
You're watching City Channel 4. On TV, online, on demand, on Facebook, and now on the go on your mobile device.